Hello everyone, let's learn call, apply and bind methods in JavaScript today. Among these three methods, the most famous and I can say a valuable one in my opinion is the bind method. So we'll first check the call and apply method, and then in the last we'll play and discuss in detail about the bind method. So to provide some more help, we have an object here, Air India. Inside it, I have a property named airplane, which is holding the name of the airline. So instead of airplane, I should call it airline. And we have an airline code, and we have an empty bookings array. So let me quickly create a function here. Inside this function, I will have one variable, let booking equal to, I'll simply create a string using template literal, booked flight number. Then I'll have, and book will take two arguments, flight num and the name of the passenger, or let's say as name. Then I'll use this dot code, the flight code, and I will concat it with the flight num that has been passed in the argument. And in our previous video we have covered around 25 most used string methods, and if you haven't watched that video, the link is in the description. So booked flight number for passenger name, and let me quickly call this function to just check whether everything is working as expected or not. Dot book, and I want to pass this booking variable, I forgot it, to the bookings, this dot bookings array dot push the booking string, and I will simply call it with the flight number, let's say 236, and the name will be Uday, and I will console the this dot bookings array, and let's check it in the console. Okay, everything is working fine as expected till now. I have booked flight number AAI236 for Uday. So let me create another object for a different airline, and this time it will be Air Asia. And mind it, I need to change it to the camel casing that I accidentally did, so I'll change it here. And yeah, so our next object will be Air Asia. So airline name will be Air Asia, the code will be, let's say, AAA, and rest everything is fine. So I'll again call the book method with, so I call the book method of Air Asia object, and I should get the correct output. Yeah, booked flight number AAA236. Let me just log the flight, the airline name also. Booked flight number for passenger, thank you for booking with this dot airline. We'll run it again, and yeah, booked flight number 234 Uday, thank you for booking with Air Asia, because we are calling Air Asia. And just in case if you are amazed after seeing that how the book function is working differently for Air Asia and differently for Air India, though both of them are having the same names, then we have covered that this keyword thoroughly in our previous videos, and the link is in the description, where we have seen that the this value or the this keyword, the value of the this keyword gets changed the way we are calling it. So here the this dot airline is pointing to the Air Asia object. Okay, but the catch here is this is a very wet code. By wet I mean write everything twice. So there are two kind of standards, wet and dry. This is a wet code because we have book function twice. And what if in the future we have more than two airlines or more than two objects? The thing which is changing in our object is the only these two parts, airline and the air code. Yeah, the booking array also. So why should I have the book function sitting for every object? I should rather have it declared outside the objects and I'll call it for individual objects, isn't it? And dry means don't repeat yourself, and that's what we are about to do. We will not repeat the declaration of the book function. Instead, we'll take the book function out and we'll declare it outside the objects like this: const book equal to function. So to attach this book function with the object, I need to use the call method. And what call method will do, it will simply change the this value. How? Let me show it to you. What I'll do, I'll say book dot call, and the first parameter would be the object itself. So let's say I want to call it for Air India. I'll give Air India in the first argument, and then followed by the function arguments. Let's say the flight number. In this case, the flight number is 100 and the name is Uday. And now I want to call the same book function for Air Asia. So in this case, the flight number would be, let's say, 200 and the name of the passenger would be John. And I want to call the same function for Lufthansa. So I'll do Lufthansa with Alice as a, and let me remove this comma from here. I don't know from where it came, and let me try to run it, and yeah, we'll get the correct output. Booked flight number AI 100 for Uday, for Air India, Air Asia and Lufthansa, and we are calling a single method by using different objects. Please note, if I would have used an arrow function here, then what do you think, what will be the output? Pause the video for a moment and remember the lectures about the this keyword, where we have covered about the values that this will hold in different scenarios. There we also covered the arrow functions. So pause the video for a moment and think about the output. We have discussed this thing in our previous video, that arrow function, the this value is from the lexical scope. So what is the lexical scope of this arrow function? It's the global scope. So whatever the way we call this arrow function by call, apply or bind, the this value sitting inside this arrow function will come from the global scope because it's the lexical scope of this book function. So if I check the output, I'll get an error saying cannot read the property undefined, because this dot code is not working, because this is an arrow function, and arrow function, this value will be from the lexical scope, and the lexical scope right now is the global scope. So I need to change it. So yeah, the thing is, you need to be very careful by using the normal function declaration and the arrow function declaration. If I change it to a normal function, I'll get the correct output. So normal function declaration, the call method will change the this keywords value. Now let's come to the next function, that is the apply function. So this, there we have covered the call method, and now we'll cover apply. And apply is nothing but the enhanced version of call, instead of passing the arguments directly like this, we can hold them in an array, saying let um, book arguments, and here I can have the flight number and the name, and let me comment this out, and I call the Air India object with the apply method. And the same, first we need to pass the this argument, that is the object, so I'll pass the Air India, and next I'll pass the array, and let's see the output, and we have the output, thank you for booking with Air India, and these two are console logged from these two functions. So yeah, if we have an array sitting like this, we can call it through call also. We need to use the spread operator, and we have discussed it in our previous videos, so you can check the link in the description. So we can use the spread operator to spread the values of the array, and we'll have the desired output. The first one is Air India, the first is Air India, and the last one is also Air India, where we are using the array. I can see two input here because the first one got inserted by the first call for Air India, and the next one is again for Air India by the apply method. So let me comment out. Yeah, it's working correctly. So let me comment out, and we'll check the most famous one, according to my opinion, the most usable one, the bind method. So for the bind method, if you have noticed one thing with call and apply, as soon as we call or we use the call and apply method, the function gets called immediately. Okay, whenever I say a book.call, the function gets called. But what if I don't want the function to be called right now? I want to hold the value to a new function with the new this value and want to call it whenever I want. So there bind will help you. Let me show you it by an example. I'll say let book Air India, and I'll say book dot bind it with the Air India object, and now the book Air India will be a new function. If you can check, nothing is called and nothing has been logged on the console because the function is not yet called. But this book Air India, now this function will hold the this values of the Air India object. So when I call this book Air India function, and now I need to pass only the desired arguments, you'll get the output with Air India. So the same I can do with Air Asia, and obviously with Lufthansa. I will grab the object name, and I will call them. So for now with the same parameters. And there you are, Air India, Air Asia, and Lufthansa airline. Fantastic, isn't it? You have the control over the calling of the function, and that was not with the call and apply method. So now let's move ahead to the next level. We are not stopping here. There are still two things remaining with the bind method. So the first one is, while using the bind method, you can also provide some of the arguments to the return function. For example, if I know that the first argument will be the flight number itself, so I can provide the flight number here, right, at the moment I'm using the bind method. So I can simply name it like book Air India 100, the book Air India, and the flight number is 100. So whenever I call this book Air India 100, I just need to pass the passenger name. Amazing, isn't it? I'll get the correct output, AI 100. So I'll change it to 200, or let's say 222, and I'll get this output. AI222 for Uday, the whatever I have passed here. Thank you for booking with Air India. Isn't it amazing? So when you are passing 222 here, that means you are assigning the 222 as a flight number, not with the name. So the order of the arguments matter here. Okay, so you should keep this in mind. And the last thing is, to show the last thing, I need to create one HTML element, and that is a button. So button, and by plain, and the type will be button self. I'll align it center, and yeah, we should have a button here, but and it's not, we have a button here but it's not aligned center. So let me create a div, and I will declare this button inside a div, and I will align that div to the center, and let's see if it will work. And yeah, it worked. So, and I will create an event listener on this button, and before that, by plain, and this will simply do a this dot plain plus plus, and just for the sake of demo, I want to see that this value also function, and I'll do a console.log of this dot plain after incrementing it. So let me have a plain property inside all of them. So 200, and for Lufthansa, let's say we have 600 planes currently with Lufthansa. So whenever I click on the biplane, so this 600 or 200 or 300 should increase by one value. This 600, 200 and 300 will increase by 1. So to do that, let me first grab the element, document dot get element by ID, and I'll give an ID of by, and the ID will be by dot add event listener, and the event listener will be click, and on click I want to call a function. Okay, there is a callback here which add event listener wants. So the callback will be, let me move it to the function itself, then it will be more clear. So yeah, like this, let it sit inside Air India for some time. So I want to call this biplane, so let me just check it first. Air India, let me comment this out, and Air India dot biplane, and whenever I call it, I'll get this value. This will be the object itself, and the new value is 301, and if I call it 2 times or 3 times, the value will be increased by 3 times, 301, 302 and 303. Okay, so the same I'll pass to our event listener dot biplane. So please note, we are not actually calling the function here, we are actually passing it. So pause the video for a moment and think about the output. Did you get the correct output? Not a number. If you can see that this value is nothing but the element itself, and that's what we have learned. So whenever you call the function by a listener, so that this keyword will hold the element itself. So what we need to do in this case, we want this biplane to point at the Air India object, and we can't use call and apply because call and apply will immediately call the function, but we don't want to do that. We just simply need to pass the function. So in this case I will use the bind method and bind it with the Air India object, and now we'll get the correct output. When I click on the plane, I'll say 301. When I click it again, 302, 303, 304. Fantastic, isn't it? So just the way we did it before, let me just take this function out and redeclare and declare it here, and I will class the biplane, and we don't need this air line here. So biplane dot bind with Air India, and this will work. 302, 303, 304, and I can have a new button sitting which will simply say by plane Lufthansa, and I can have a new ID by Lufthansa, and I can simply use this ID here, and I will bind it with the Lufthansa airline. So whenever I click on buy plane, I'll get airline for Air India, and whenever I click on buy plane Lufthansa, the Lufthansa will work. Fantastic, isn't it? So that's all folks with the call, apply and bind method. I hope you like the video. Please like, share and subscribe, please guys. It gives me a lot of confidence to make such kind of videos. Thanks a lot.